Anyway, after that booming introduction, I'll finish it. All right. I'm Jeff Townsend. Oh, man. Bill, we are pulling a doubleheader this week. Is it kind of a doubleheader? I'm just going to call it a doubleheader. Recorded yet again. I'm excited, man. Bill DeMott Experience, another. We just released some bonus content. And now we have last several weeks, we've been on this journey with the U.S. title. So now we're going to take this episode to get caught up on some listener questions, comments, and all that, man.
Good. We had a lot of good feedback this week about the U.S. title conversation. A couple messages on the YouTube channel and people just commenting. So shout out to everybody who's following it, and I'm glad that people are enjoying it. One of my good friends, Pastor Andy McDaniel, follows us and listens to everything we do, and he said he absolutely loves the conversation. It takes him back to the old NWA days and stuff like that. So really cool. Again, very well done, man. Nicely laid out.
Yeah, it's fun doing it. We don't always talk about the dirt sheet wrestling news as much as some other pro wrestling podcasts do, but this is our experience. I guess we can do as we please. So we do cover today we have a lot of questions, but it's not a weekly concentration, I guess you could say, unless we're asked about it. We're not going out of our way to talk about the dirt sheets, I guess you could say.
Yes, I like it. I like it a lot.
So what's going on in the DeMott world? How's the foundation doing? How's Big Billy's baseball doing?
Little Billy's baseball has begun. His fall travel team has started. He has high school tryouts in 2 weeks. So he's getting going. So we had a goal for the summer. He came in. He finished 8th grade at 6'1", 170 pounds. And so we had a goal of training this summer. And I said, we're going to put on 10 pounds and we're going to, train. When I say train, we're not lifting heavy weights. We're just training different because now he has the time and he still was playing ball. But he's put on 15 pounds.
Oh.
And so he's 6'1", 185. As a freshman, and he just
still a cruiser. He's still a cruiserweight, though.
Yeah, he's still a cruiserweight, but not anymore. Nowadays, he could be a heavy. He's 42 pounds heavier than Darby Allin, so he could be a heavyweight champion.
That's true. Darby Allin's not the weirdest guy. But he still qualifies for the 205 Live. I don't qualify for that at the moment. He does.
Still falls under that umbrella. And foundation-wise, we have a big something that's very big for us here in the Central Florida area is we're holding our first town hall meeting on August 22nd, and we're bringing together the leaders of the community. As you know, and you and I talk about it, and we'll continue to talk about it, the drunk, impaired, distracted driving epidemic is just nationwide. But here in Central Florida, we're constantly being affected by it. And so the foundation got together and then, okay, let's get the community leaders together. We're going to have a town hall meeting. We're going to let the community know what is being done and what more can be done and how everybody get involved in it. So as always, we stay busy and doing our thing. Because the foundation, we're proactive. We're not reactive. We don't wait for something to happen. We're trying to nip it in the bud, as my grandfather would say.
So I've got a complaint for the week. So they've had this highway closed all summer for construction, right? Doing road improvements. And it's been open for 2 weeks. And now it is down to one lane because they are adding fiber internet to a up and coming suburb. I was thinking, why couldn't you do that during the road construction?
Because you and I would think, right? You and I would think, while it's down, let's get everybody in there. But that's not how it works. One contractor has to do his thing, and then what? And then when you get to that state level, forget it. It really, they say wrestling's a dirty business. Jeez, Lou.
Indiana is pretty poor on the availability of high-speed internet. Not so much in the city, the cities, the towns, but anything rural at all does not have basically anything but satellite internet. So that's been a big thing here in Indiana, trying to
in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, it's not like, of course, you go into any town, you're going to have high-speed internet. But if you're out in the country at all, it's not available in Indiana, really. So that's a big push. So that's my gripe of the week. I thought I got my road back to faster transportation.
Nope.
They took it away from me already. So
well, they gave you one lane back.
Yeah, they gave me one lane back at half speed. So I got to be even more careful now. I might as well go the way I had started going in the first place. But anyway, that's my gripe for the week. I don't want to get into too much other complaints, but it sounds like you're doing well, man. And just to kick things off here, let's just go ahead and get since we talked about the drunk impaired driving, a lot of people, Bill, have seen your post about the recent news, and we're asking you to comment on it in video form or audio form here.
Okay.
It's had several people ask about it.
Well, so it's
I'll let you explain what they're asking about too, because I know you know.
So if I understand it right, we're talking about Tammy Sitch and the national news that she's pleading no contest to DUI manslaughter and the other charges that happened over a year ago in March of 2022. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and it's being thrown out there up to 25 years in prison. A lot of news outlets it's saying that. Yeah,
there's because of all of the ramifications that have come from this decision. I've been in the courtroom for every time she's been in front of the judge, except when they held private, when they wouldn't let the public in. And the first time when the judge, so people understand this is not a wrestling thing. This just happens to be a wrestler who did it, right? A former wrestler, a Hall of Famer, all these things. If you were John Doe, I'd be talking about it the same way. So it's not a vendetta against a person. It's a vendetta against the issue. And the issue is, I believe up to 9 times she's had DUIs. There's at least...
What's Bill, we do have a lot of new listeners the last couple weeks. So not to state the tragedy, but you did lose a daughter to this. And if you're listening and you guys are like, why are you two dudes talking about the foundation and impaired drunk driving every week? Well, the reason is because Bill lost a beloved daughter at a very young age. So if you're new to the podcast and you hear us talking about this every week, it's because it's meaningful to us and it hits at home.
And so and respectfully, I don't want to correct you, but I say this everywhere I speak in the country, because a lot of people, and I appreciate it very much, but everybody will say, sorry for your loss. And I always say, I didn't lose my daughter. She was taken from me. And I say that respectfully too, because I appreciate what you're saying and I fully accept it. But I want to let people know the difference of, we lose a battle to a medical issue we can't control. We lose people to
cancer or something.
We lose people to something they can't control. Hopefully we try to fix it, help them, but we lose people that way. When someone is taken because of drunk, impaired, distracted driving, it was a decision, and they were taken. Now, Tammy Sitch, Sonny, was out again, no license, on probation, no business in a car, open alcohol in the car, and was 3 times the per se law. Over 3 times was considered the per se law. And I don't say legal limit, because if there was a legal limit, that means we're telling people they can drive up to a certain amount of time. So I'm going to use the technical term per se law. And she was over 3 times. Now, not only did she hit and kill a man, she caused multiple cars to crash and injured multiple people. So by the time she got into court at the first hearing, when the judge heard all the charges from all the states and all the times that she'd been slapped on the wrist, let go, done a little, couple weeks in a county jail or something like that, and continues to make decisions until she kills someone. So now we're at the point here in Volusia County in Florida, where they set the date for November 25th, I think it is. And she's going to face 25 years, if not more. And so my post was simply, as a father who's been affected by this, I don't want to see any plea deals. I don't want to hear any excuses. This is 9 times. This is how many times in Florida, how many times in New Jersey, how many times in Pennsylvania do you go around, and I say it like this, terrorizing people. because you're doing what you want to do until you killed someone. And now, unfortunately, you have to face the music. The problem I have with it, and I believe I use the term coward, is because she's pleading no contest, which means she doesn't have to take accountability for it. She's going to be charged as such, but she does not have to take accountability. So she pled no contest. After a year of pre-trials and depositions and trying to find a way out of this, that's the out that she has of not having to take accountability. So she's pleading no contest. Regardless, I'd much rather see this people talking about helping and supporting the Lassiter family who's been affected and the other families of the gentleman that was taken from us. But yeah, I'm on the news about it all the time. Whether it's a politician, an everyday guy, a construction worker, a wrestler, football player, basketball player, these things have to be brought to light, and we have to stop putting people on a pedestal. We have to stop making excuses and saying, well, I hope this time fit. No, that's been said 8 times previous. I hope this fixes it. And listen, there's a big difference between having a disease like alcoholism and deciding to get in a car and drive. Why does everyone else have to suffer from your disease? I'm not downplaying people who suffer from alcoholism, but if you know that, then you know you can't get behind the wheel. And the people who are supposed to love you, marry to you, surround you, and support you are letting you do it. So that's what's happening with Tammy Sitch. I will be there. The foundation will be present in November at that court hearing. And just for nothing else, to support the community and the Lassiter family.
He spoke with that family?
Yes, I have spoken to the daughter on numerous occasions. Because of privacy concerns, I can't say what we've talked about, but we've been working with the Volusia County advocates from the sheriff's office, and we've been in contact and have worked with the Lassiter family. Yes,
it's got to be really hard, like when something like this happens in your life, to be really easy just like I myself have this problem and I've battled depression. You just try to shove things to the back and not think about it. But like facing it head on is it's awesome that you're doing that, because it shows other people that they can do it too. Maybe not just about impaired driving, maybe about other things.
Yeah. And that's the kind of the thing, what happened with the foundation, because as we started speaking early on, we learned that kids had issues with, bullying and all these other things, and mental health and self-esteem. So I always said that's Carrie's thing was people. And so I have an obligation to my daughter and my family to make sure that her message and mission continues. So again, not what I set out to do. I'm sure a lot of people are surprised when they see my posts or hear it and don't know what we do. So like, wow, DeMott's on a tangent here, but
yeah, this is the tough enough guy going on a tangent, man.
This is the guy, and all of a sudden he's got a heart, and he's knowledgeable, and he's doing good things. But that's what we do, and people need to know that about a lot of wrestlers that are out there doing those things. Mark Merrow's out there, Titus O'Neil's out there. There's so many good people out there spreading the good, that you have to leave the wrestling part behind. And just because you're a wrestler, and this is a wrestling podcast, so we talk about wrestlers, but just because you're an MLB guy or an NBA guy or a golf, I went after Tiger Woods every time. And Tiger Woods in Florida is a big deal. I have no problem meeting people head on. That's when they meet the tough enough guy. If it's something that you have to stay the course. So it shouldn't matter who we are, what our position is in society. There's certain things we have to be accountable for. And that's where we're at with that. And as getting into November, and just so everybody knows who's listening and subscribes to what we do, I take a beating. I take a beating from wrestling fans or people that think, that I'm wrong or something, and that's fine too. But again, I don't state a personal opinion. I come from it as someone who's been affected, and this is life experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you take a beating aside from this,
Yeah.
just from the way everything played out with the exit of the company, let alone this. So,
So
and I even get in the cross paths of that just by association sometimes.
yeah, you are. You're guilty by association.
Yeah, that's how it works. I think it's all right though. Yeah. So no, I think I'm glad that we could discuss that. I know a lot of people have asked. Of course, as usual, that's a pretty frequently brought up thing. If something relates to it, we've spoke about.
Yeah.
And like you said, but on this one, we might relate it to wrestling. We spoke about Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But you're out there doing this every day.
Yeah.
What would you be doing? Like you probably, like you can't even imagine now what you'd be doing if you weren't doing this with your, like what would you be doing with your life?
That's a great question, great perspective on things. I don't know. That's the thing. I had a plan. I had a direction. I was on a journey, and that all changed. And to be honest, I don't know what I would be doing. I mean, if I wasn't doing this work and working with this kind of movement, I'd probably be sitting in the corner somewhere, drifting away, because it wears on you, and it's life changing. But if none of this would have happened in a perfect world, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So I can't picture that. It's like, as a dad, and you know this better than anybody, I can't remember a lot of what happened before I was a dad. I can't remember not having kids, right? So you're almost like, wow, what was I doing way back when? Until you really sit down with someone and you're talking, you go, oh yeah. But it's like, so it's that thing. I have no idea what I'd be doing. I just know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't question it. Every morning I get up and wait for the direction, and then I go.
I'll tell you one thing about being a dad. Had to take my daughter to the orthodontist today. She better be wearing that retainer 12 hours a day.
I'll tell you what.
I spent a lot of money on that, man.
I'll tell you what. Both my girls had the braces and they didn't like it. I don't care. You're keeping them on. Even when they say you're taking them off, you're keeping them on. They were expected. Just keep them on.
Yep. We're working on making sure we wear that retainer now.
Good, man. That's struggle, right?
It is. That's my struggle. That's easier said than done. I could sit here and be like, I could be a hard ass. You're gonna wear that thing, but you gotta actually stick to it, man. Yeah. So we'll move on. This is a podcast where two grown men tear up probably more than any other podcast together. Anyway, so the next question is a fun one. Trevor, I think you had a little play of Trevor Murdoch here on Trevor Murdoch fan on Twitter. So that's not I like the props given there. That's awesome. He wants to know what your ideal meal is the DeMott household. Like, what meal is your guys' go-to? What is your favorite thing and your family's favorite thing, and why? What's preparing it consist of? Pasta
Sunday. I make my own gravy, as I call it. The debate is always, is it sauce or is it gravy? I call it gravy. Everyone else in the house calls it sauce. But I make my own sauce from scratch.
Do you call it gravy because everybody else calls it sauce, or do you call it gravy?
I actually bought a Yamaha Royal Star because everybody else bought Harleys. That's the kind of guy I am. Just because everybody did it, I'm going opposite.
Yeah, especially at the house, right? You got to add them all fire. You got to have your dad moments.
So the Sunday, so I make enough sauce for 8 to 9 weeks. And every Sunday, we make sure we're all together. And Pasta Sunday is the one thing for sure we all get together for.
I'm going to have to come into the visit for a week one day and crash this party.
Once you taste this sauce, you won't even know what Olive Garden is or any of these other places.
All right. Gotcha. The DeMott gravy. That's a good question. That's a fun, lighthearted question. I like that. Yeah. Winter Hale on Twitter wants to know your feelings on the information that's been released this week on Lacey Evans' departure from WWE. I'll start out with mine.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised, just simply because we haven't seen a whole lot of her. I'm surprised in the sense that they just kind of quit using her, but I'm not surprised that she's been released, because it seemed like there was we always hear that she kind of fell victim to like Vince liked her, kind of revamped her. Then Vince left right after that. Yeah. Seems like she just got lost in the shuffle.
And you and I have talked about this. Like there's this amazing talent pool they have there. And I feel like Lacey Evans was one of the ones who started red hot. What a great build. And she came in. And then I think she had another baby, right? Or, into her run there. Didn't she leave because she was pregnant?
Yeah, I think there was maybe not but so, I don't know if they had planned the pregnancy or not. Yeah.
Right. But since that, like she was red hot at the time, if I remember, she was going really strong. Mm-hmm. Then she had another baby, and good on her because she came back, looks great. All the women, Becky Lynch, all of them that have had.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Birth and when they come back, but I was and am a big Lacey Evans fan. So when I read that, I was like, oh no. But to your point, you kind of had to know it was coming because of everything that's just how the circle, right? And how long have you been there? Are we doing anything with you? Things like that. But I'm sad to see her go. I hope she catches on somewhere else, or even if she's going to stay in the business, who knows? Maybe she's had enough. But I was a fan. I wish her well. I hated to see that. I think she was one of the women that really could have made a big difference in the WWE. So kind of stinks.
You don't have to be in the WWE though. I mean, Mickie James is still out. She's like a little bit of a tour. She's like a little tour right now. Mickie James is worldwide. She's hitting up everywhere.
I'd like to see. I tell you what, Lacey Evans should go to the NWA and work against Camille. I'd love to see that. So I really hope if it's truly what she wants to do, that she catches on somewhere else, and we get to see her again. But I wish her all the luck. I never did have an opportunity to meet her, but I was a big fan of her work and what she did. So wish her well. But that was like one of the days, like, oh no, not another one. Because I'll say this. Here's where I'll get in trouble, and you'll get in trouble, guilty by association. Lacey Evans falls victim to too many people in the talent pool getting lost in the shuffle. Explain to me Dana Brooke. And Dana Brooke's a Bill DeMott person. Like, she came through me and from day one, and I'm a big fan of Dana Brooke. But how does Dana Brooke survive it and Lacey Evans doesn't survive it? There's no rhyme or reason for it.
Timing, contractual timing. It could be contracts up.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff makes a difference. Your contract's up. We're not going to renew it. I don't know the circumstances of either individual. Right. I'm not as hard on Dana Brooke as other people are either.
No. I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not suggesting to be harder. But you look at it because we talk about Shayna Baszler all the time. Lost to the shuffle, comes back. All these things. So it just, to your point, contracts and personal situations, and we don't know how it plays out. We just get the news, right? We just get the fact that she's gone. So the fact that she's gone stinks, but I truly hope she catches on if she wants to and does more good stuff. Yeah.
Definitely could see her doing well on AEW.
Yes.
Kind of could use that toughness, I guess. I don't know that's a good word to bring to the table for her. Seems as if legitimate toughness. In a division.
They need, don't even, I'll wait till the questions. I can't even get going. I watched it last night. I'm going to lose my mind.
I did not. So that'll be, I haven't caught it yet. So I've been recording all week.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next one. All right. Brian Highlander. I don't know. That must be a gimmick name. I like that name.
Highlander.
Wants to know what you think about RVD showing up in AEW. He looks great. Let me start off by saying that.
Come on, man. The guy, he's like the Dick Clark of wrestling, right? He's always in phenomenal shape. He's status quo. He hasn't skipped a beat. He's Rob Van Dam, and I don't fall into the same mindset as everybody. Well, you're a WWE, you're a Hall of Fame. Listen, go do your thing. If WWE wanted you on TV, they'd have you on TV. AEW.
Yeah, you have the right to go get money elsewhere.
You have the right to work your craft. And it's not saying...
Well, a lot of people are saying, Bill, that, and I don't know how true it is. I've talked to RVD before, but not a detail about this. that he had kind of maybe mentioned or had been thrown out there that he would be interested in coming back. And it just didn't happen for whatever reason, and maybe he's in AEW now.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at Paul White, right? There's another guy we thought, but they weren't doing anything with him, and Mark Henry, and down the line. I mean, Mark Henry's a Hall of Famer. So you could say that about a lot of people. I thought it was great to see Rob. I thought he did wonders for Jack Perry, and
So you think it's a good angle for Jack Perry? You think that's good for Jack Perry for sure?
I think it's good for Jack Perry, yeah. And hats off to Rob for going in there and doing the favor and putting the kid over and doing it the way he did it. So I was a fan. Like, and to me, it's not like you see, I'm trying to think of how to say it the right way. When I see Sergeant Slaughter come to the ring in full gear, that's an awesome nostalgic moment. You know what I mean? Even if he's just there for the presence, like when Piper would do it and things like that, that's awesome. That's not Rob yet. Rob's still got too much to offer and do. So when you have the opportunity, run. I'm like, half of me so envious that he's out there doing that because I'm a fan of him. And so when he goes out there and then lifts another guy up, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? It's supposed to be lifting the next guys up. So hats off to Robin. It was good to see him. And who knows where you'll see him next. Go make the tour, man. Go do your thing.
I agree. Big art. Well, me back in the day, big into wrestling tapes, getting my hands on those, a lot of eBay stuff to get my hands on a lot of stuff that back then, quite frankly, just wasn't available to view. Big RVD fan, ECW. And I'm not just talking him just out there hardcore, Van Daminator's chair. I mean, I'm talking just big RVD fan in general. I think he's had a great career. So I think it's cool that he gets to go and make some more money and help the industry.
One of my first tours, we did the ABC Islands, right? Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And it was just, it was Dick Slater. It was, Hawk was on it. There was a couple other guys, and it was a young Rob Van Dam, and it was a young Bill DeMott. And we, just the two green kids at the time. And it was the first time I met Rob. And I've been a fan ever since because I watched him in the ring going, wow, the guy's special.
You ever watch those shoot videos that he has in the past where he'd say, pick a hand?
No.
He would talk about when I think he did it with Sean Oliver, which is I don't know if you know who Sean Oliver is. It's basically the innovator of wrestling shoot videos on YouTube.
Right.
So he had this segment where he'd mention an individual randomly. Wasn't probably random, but it was to Rob. And he would be asked if he ever almost had to tell that person to pick a hand. As in, which hand do you want me to punch you with? Stemming from a story with Taz and others where, he's asked the person to pick a hand.
Right.
But I didn't know if you'd seen that or not.
You want this one or you want this one?
Yeah. So those are pretty neat videos. But
that's awesome.
Especially when he talked about Vince McMahon before. Yeah. I think it was all around the tribute to the troops. Time you're supposed to have off. And do you want to go to Iraq? He's like, oh, Afghanistan. He's like, no, I don't want to go to Afghanistan during Christmas. But anyway, no. So yeah, I think it's awesome. RVD is back at it again. And Jack Perry, man. So Jack Perry, you think he could use the rub here? Let's get into Jack Perry a little bit. They've been showing him more as his heel character.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
Here's why I'm unsure, and I have no skin in the game yet, because I don't see the need. I think he came out a couple of weeks ago and was just dropping every cuss word under the sun. And he's talking about...
They do that a lot on that show.
But yeah, and I just don't see the need for it. I see somebody with so much to offer, and his charisma's getting there, and I've watched it, we've all watched him kind of grow up in AEW. And I'm just... I'm not invested in him yet. I'm more now with the RVD stuff. And I think as long as he gets away from being that, what people perceive as being a heel, because if I yell in the microphone and cuss and drop F-bombs, then I'm a bad guy. No, because I know a lot of good guys that look at their talking wrestling, they drop an F-bomb. It just takes me out of the moment. But other than that, and that's being really nitpicky, that's a personal thing. But I'm a fan. I like what he's doing. I think if he retires the FTW belt and doesn't use it anymore, we could be in that quandary we talked about with Austin Theory, right? Right now, that's the thing he needs, but it's a great gimmick to keep saying I'm going to retire, and hopefully they keep bringing people back for him to dance with. So I'm a fan of his right now. I really want to see him evolve more and be that guy, because I have a tough, and if I'm being honest, I have a tough time with a 160-pound guy talking like a badass. You gotta, there's a different way to be a badass instead of just cussing. That doesn't make you a tough guy. It doesn't make you a formidable heel.
That's I don't want to say an old school mindset, but there are definitely badass 165-pound guys. But so I think it's cool. He's an original AEW guy. So I think it's important when you utilize him and the Darby Allins and the people that have been there. Yeah. I think it's cool. There's something to say to that. That's a pretty cool thing to be a part of in the beginning, and good to see that he's at least getting some TV time now, or more TV time now. He was at it, but maybe more legitimate storyline. Yeah. So next question is a big one here. By the time this comes out next week, we may have already had some questions on this answered. A lot of individuals wanting to know our thoughts and the rumor going around that Edge will wrap up his spectacular, great career this week on SmackDown. Have you seen these rumors?
I did. I saw that today, actually. Where I can't tell you where I read it, but
it's everywhere. It doesn't. I mean, it's everywhere.
Set the tone on last week's SmackDown. Right. Yeah. Here's the one guy I've never fought in the ring in my 25 years. I've known him,
which is crazy to think about.
Right. And they're kind of doing the buddy thing, like Adam Cole and MJF. Oh, we went mountain biking and I fell off, and we're training, and he talked me back into it. But I think they're doing it really well. So the only thing I'd say is we've seen Edge retire before, right? So I wonder if this is, if this is truly at 25 years, what a way to go out. Like I'm invested in it, whether he retires or not. But I think this may be the one, and the time. He started Judgment Day. He came back out of the Royal Rumble a couple of years back, and all these things
right before COVID.
Been red hot since he's been back again, and I think he's one of those guys that. He's legendary now, and he can retire and be he's a spokesman for the business and a spokesman for WWE. So I'm sure he's not done with the company, but I think as far as in ring, I think we could see the end, and I think it's going to be a special moment.
And it's crazy. Let's go back your WWF debut.
Yeah.
Edge is a part of that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool to think about. Just really a guy and another WWE guy just come through the system, did everything right, wrote it out for better or worse, and even his personal medical issues.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see him and Christian still able to compete now.
But to see, like, what I look at with them, because I've gotten to know them, and one of the, they're my peers, like Edge, because we're talking about Edge, but Christian falls into the same thing. Both Adam and Jay came up as young guys there in WWF, went through the right channels, but learned the game. They were students of the game. They were groomed the right way. And when I say groomed, I'm not talking about being pushed. They were groomed. They were asking questions. They were paying attention. They were in different offices, different rooms, looking at things, trying to figure out what was working. They were watching Taker and Michaels and Austin and Rock and all these things. And then they were dancing with them all. So that's the way it should be done. Not like Edge should be the blueprint for every WWE superstar.
That's a heck of a statement too, when you really think about it, with the wrestling industry and what WWE has meant to it. So that's a heck of a statement.
Yeah. He was a backup player for the Brood, right? He was the backup for Gangrel. And both of them, both Jay and Adam, both have just exceeded expectations and are doing so much more for the next generation. But they did it the right way, man. And that's
these guys didn't come in on they didn't even come in under decent contracts and developmental, honestly.
Right. They didn't come from Japan or Mexico or anywhere else. They didn't have they didn't.
Well, they were on the independent side, but their contracts when they came in, I mean, they sacrificed everything to be there.
Right.
They've sacrificed a lot to be there, I guess.
They cut their teeth in WWF. Like, they had reps, but this is when they really dove into it and took, like, those two. If those two men said passion all day long, I'd listen to them. And I think that's the difference between when young guys say, I've had a passion for this my whole life, then I'm going to compare it to an Edge. But I'm looking forward to SmackDown and seeing what happens. But I think they've got everybody's attention, and SmackDown should do great ratings.
There is a lot of questions on here. Vince McMahon's mustache leads the effort with a multi-question here about this same subject. So Jim Ross recently came out and says that AEW Collision has a good atmosphere backstage. It's a lot calmer than Dynamite. Right. I don't know if you saw his comments saying that, but what Vince McMahon's mustache is saying that, and he's also mentioning, we've heard this news all week about certain people in AEW being told not to show up at Collision.
Yeah.
Asking for your opinions on the CM Punk situation. I'm a huge CM Punk fan, massive CM Punk fan. I don't know. Just to me, it's like, couldn't you be told not to show up for other reasons that may have nothing to do with CM Punk?
But if you go by the stories that are being put out there, they're giving reasons why they were sent home. And it comes back. So either I say this, it's either a hell of a mutiny where everybody's pointing the finger at Punk, or this is a work. Because there's no way he can come back again and be such a shit disturber. And if it's happening, then the inmates are running the asylum. But to hear that certain guys and a couple of the guys, people go, oh, well, they don't do much anyway. But it's just the point of when you get there and you're told to go home, there's just that miscommunication, which then allows people to talk about it.
Communication.
And so, it could be like, listen, there's no way Matt Hardy got on a plane, decided he was going to show up when he wasn't booked. It's just not possible. So to hear he got turned around and sent home, and this one got turned around and sent home, and hearing how they're trying to make Collision more exclusive to just a Collision crew and things like that, who knows what's going on? But I really wish that they would stop letting this stuff get out. And when I say they, I'm talking to the locker room directly. Because multiple people are definitely. It's always been the case, Jeff. It's always been the case. Everybody goes, well, how do they know this? Well, it's someone in the office. No, it's the people in the locker room, because if they stooge off reports or then they're important, right? I'm an insider. Then be an insider and don't be part of the locker room. It's my thing. But why doesn't everybody just keep it internal? And this is what's going to kill the business, and this is what hurts the business, is because people don't have to know what's going on to form an opinion. They just got to read 14 different dirt sheets that all say the same thing, and it's all coming back to Punk again. So somebody's saying it's a kumbaya moment, and it's always going to be JR, because JR tries to keep the peace and everything, and hey, keep it positive. And then you got people that are spilling dirt. So I just
to his point though, could you see it being a calmer? Sorry to interrupt you. Could you see it being a calmer environment on Collision and compared to Dynamite?
Not if this is going on. I think it's a contradiction, because you're telling me everybody there was happy with who got sent home or whatever, and because of the way I understand the environment in AEW, everybody has something to say, and everybody can say what they want, and people are strong opinioned and everything else. So, I mean, I wish they'd all just get on the same page and keep it internal, but I don't know if it's it may be calmer than, Wednesday and Friday, maybe.
The wrestling itself is certainly a different tone.
Yes, it's a different tone. Yeah.
I could see it being calmer just because of the presentation of it, and I don't know. Just seems like an good old fashioned wrestling show to me. But
yeah, I like Collision. I like of the three. I like Collision.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, I mean, I always watch it. It's a good watch. It's just feels, the stories are great. You get to see tag team champions there, which is huge. So I don't think there's ever going to be a payoff with this whole CM Punk thing, with the Elite thing.
No, and I think that's either the whole thing's a work, and I feel like they're beating it like a dead horse now, because now it's just going to become a turnoff, in my opinion. Because how much do you want to really hear about that all the time? And why am I going to get invested in people again if I think he's going to leave or get fired, or this one's there, or she's not going to be there? You know what I mean? So for people who overanalyze wrestling, I think it's a big turnoff.
Big turnoff?
Yeah. I don't want to keep hearing negative stuff about Punk. I don't want to keep hearing negative.
Yeah.
Like, because you can't be one guy on TV and be another guy off TV. And I'm not saying he is, but that's the way it's being portrayed.
Yeah. He seems like the type of guy to me that's just the same type of guy all the time.
Across the board, even all the time.
Let's segue a little bit here.
Okay.
And last week we wrapped up, and you'll be receiving it by long before you hear that. The week before you hear this, you would have heard the last episode of the 5-parter we did on the United States Championship. Bill, we had talked about what was next. Day before this all played out here, Rey Mysterio is the U.S. champion now.
We briefly touched on, I think, last episode, because my phone instantly went off. You instantly sent me a message going, well, we missed that. But we truly didn't. We talked about, hey, what happens to Austin Theory and we were saying who's going to be the one to follow Theory. Well, I don't think either of us thought it would be Rey Mysterio, and apparently neither did anybody else until that night. But so the U.S. title thing continues.
He's had that several times. I'll have to go back and look now.
Yeah, and so who would be to me, I think it says, and hopefully everybody gets caught up to it. I say this is going to be now the fallout of the LWO, because it was supposed to be Garza, right? And then he was hurt, right? So then Rey took his spot, and all of a sudden Rey became champion. But Garza put all the work in.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But I'm more interested to see what happens with Theory. Does he fall to the wayside now, or is he getting put right into another program?
Yeah, where does he go from here? I don't even know at this point in time. There's so much going on always, and always so much television. So I thought that was interesting, though. Yeah, Bob Orton's cast on Twitter wants to know what you thought of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match on Dynamite.
I have two thoughts on it. One, like, we can't forget what that match was for. All the proceeds and everything from that match went to the people in Maui, right? All that was being donated. I'm not sure how that works out, all the things that went into that match. So I don't know if sponsors paid for a certain part of that match, because you saw Chainsaw Massacre on the ring skirts and in the ring. So all the proceeds are going to Maui. Hats off to AEW for doing that.
And I have not watched it yet. Just full disclosure.
I watched it.
So this is all on you.
I watched the whole thing. I was confused from the jump. I think a first-time watcher would have looked at that, and I'm not sure if they would have watched the whole thing. I think it might have been a channel changer. It was just so confusing, because the baby faces were ganging up on the heel, and the save was made by the heels. And that's really wrestling analytics, right? You really look at it but I don't think I had a choice because of the way the match went. I just had to look into it deeper. But the match, for what it was, I think it served its purpose. I don't think it necessarily served its purpose for its audience, because half of it was outside the arena.
Yeah. Can't wait to watch that. Vince Russo, we talked about him on this podcast. We've shared episodes from your previous run at the Bill DeMott Experience. I'll say one thing about Vince Russo. He hearing him say he's put me in the mindset before, and I can't even get in the mindset completely because I am a fan. But if you're a casual person flipping through the channels, what are you going to think if you come across it? And sometimes I wonder, what if I had no clue what was going on? What would I think if I was flipping across and I stopped on Dynamite?
That was a channel changer. I was, and it's not a dig at Jarrett, not a dig at Hardy. It's just that particular thing. I had to watch it to see where they were going to go. Like I wasn't even curious about, wow, this is cool. It looks cool. I just wanted to see where they were going to go with it. But I think if you're a casual fan or a first time watcher, someone says you got to watch it, and if they tuned into that, that's a channel changer.
You'd probably definitely be confused. I'm not going to argue that point.
Yeah, you'd be confused. And the follow-up match was not good, but we could talk about that another time.
No, go ahead.
It was Bunny versus Britt Baker. To be the fourth person, the fourth woman in Wembley Stadium for the championship. You know, I don't know where I think it's hard when you don't get the reps and you're just doing a TV every now and again. I mean, I can't count on two hands how many times I've seen Bunny work. And
they had a lot of drama last couple weeks in this women's division.
It's
like a lot of tweets were flying a few weeks ago.
It seems like it's fallen apart. I don't understand the Toni Storm change overnight. She went from being Toni Storm, who I'm a fan of, to being like this Audrey Hepburn-esque kind of character. But I think they said because she's in a movie or something like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's just such a disconnect. It's such a disconnect for me. But last night was not a good. I don't think last night was a good night for AEW across the board, to be honest.
What else? I haven't watched it yet. So what else was a channel turner in your opinion?
If I would have changed the channel, I would have missed Chris Jericho's retort in the back when he was with Renee, because I think they waited too long, right? They did their business in the ring and Don Callis and all this thing, and now Will Ospreay's involved and all these other guys, and which is fine. And Sammy came out to make the save for Chris, which is fine. But then they went to another segment, another match, and then Chris was in the back after. So the blood's dried on his head. The effect was less, I think. So I think it was just a bunch of disconnected segments. But for me, it was like a total disconnect. If I was a first-time watcher, I don't know what the heck I'm watching and who these people are supposed to be.
Let's go to the other program for the next question here. Is Jay Uso retirement or quitting angle? Your thoughts on that? Is this to buy more time? I mean, what do you think this is?
Is it to put more emphasis on Jimmy now? Is it to kind of make people think, okay, the bloodline thing's all settled back in? I'm not sure, but if you quit on national TV, you know, I go back to only one person did it great, in my opinion. That was Mark Henry. In that crazy salmon suit jacket he wore and everything, and tears in his eyes, and, you know, and then he beat the crap out of John Cena. Everybody hated him. But I don't know where we go with this one. Maybe it's to put the shine on Jimmy for a little bit. Maybe Jay needs a break. Who knows if there's nagging injuries, much like, Roman. So I'm not sure where we go with it. I think there's still so much meat on the bone. I don't really look into it that way. I go, okay, let's just, I really want to see where they're going to take me on it. But hopefully he comes back stronger. I don't know how that's possible, but I hope that it makes the bloodline storyline stronger.
Yeah, to your point, I don't know where they're going with it. Is this so we can, because like I said, I don't remember when, the last episode or two, we've never really seen any focus on Jimmy besides, Total Divas. Obviously, it's cool getting to see a little bit about him there, but on screen wise, there's just not been that. So can you utilize this time and dive deep into him a little bit more to try to build up this Mania match or wherever this happens. I mean, they definitely, to your point, have to spend more time on Jimmy.
Yeah. But is this where Jay is the one who brings the Ultimate Uso back? Is he the one who brings his dad back and Rikishi comes back with him? I mean, there's so many different layers to it. Like, I'm really intrigued. I'm just not sure where they're going to go. But and we talk about it all the time. That's the one storyline that I don't try to overthink or anything. Like, okay, take me there and let's see how we feel about it.
More of a fun question up next here. What did you think about Ric Flair admitting that he fell asleep during his last match?
Like, I think it just makes it endears Rick to more people. There,
he's not afraid
no filter.
No.
But you come out and said, yeah, I fell asleep in my own match. I think it's tremendous. Like, you saw my face, and right now I have the biggest smile on my face. Like, you can't get mad at it. And you go, only Ric Flair could do that. And still come out as, as the man. So
the amount of money they made that day, reading about it online a while back, was substantial.
And listen, Rick.
Kudos to Conrad Thompson.
Yes, hats off to Conrad Thompson. But Rick is the expert in keeping himself relevant. And it doesn't always have to be. And this is why I brought a smile to my face, because it wasn't. Sometimes we get these terrible stories that keep us in the news, right? Well, it's Flair saying, "Not that I fell asleep," and everybody's going, "I love this Ric Flair guy." You know what I mean? So I thought it was great, man. It's making me smile now. It made me smile when I read the story.
Next person wants to know what you expect from Braun Strowman, because he's been out with neck fusion surgery, if you weren't aware.
I don't expect anything. I don't know if we see him back.
This is a guy they brought back. They always say, Triple H brought him back.
Yeah.
Haven't seen anything. I mean, there before he left, though, there's a lot of stuff on TV, really emphasis on the strength.
Yeah, but even when they brought him back with Ricochet, I didn't see the same steam.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The TV time he had before, where he was, particularly during COVID, a lot of that stuff without the crowd there and stuff was pretty cool, because he did some pretty neat stuff.
Yeah.
To your point, since he's come back, it just hasn't really had any momentum. And there's a lot of people on the roster too.
There's a lot of people on the roster, and who knows if he's going to be cleared or what is he going to be capable of doing? Can he run around the ring again and deliver that big snowplow? Maybe that's the thing that hurts him or whatever. But, there's a lot of big guys that are there. There's a lot of guys that are coming up. And so let me put the question back to you. Do you see Braun Strowman working a program with Gunther?
Take a lot of work, I'll say that much.
Then
they'd have to build something. Yeah, they'd have to get creative.
Yep, that's your answer. If they have something creative.
Could I see him actually doing it? Yeah, but it would take, under current state, that would take a while.
Yeah, look what they're doing with Drew McIntyre, right? They teamed him with Riddle. And to me, Drew stands alone.
Do you call them Mick Riddle?
Mick. That's awesome. I'll use that everywhere I go. That is awesome. But, so as far as, Strowman coming back, great guy, size, everything. He looks the part, but
hell of an athlete for his size, too.
Hey, I remember when he came in, he was 3 times that size. He couldn't run the ropes once, and not because he was out of shape, because he was so big. This guy was the thickest guy I've ever seen in my life. He's the
transformation,
man.
They talk about Gunther's transformation with his body. You can't forget what Braun Strowman's done.
Yeah, unbelievable. So if he comes back, he'll. Right now, I'd say he goes into our pile of talent that get lost in the shuffle.
Well, if you're not careful, you could already forget that he's a former champion.
Yeah. Yeah, someone has to say it, otherwise you will forget it.
Wrestling Shoot fan here on Twitter wants to know what you think is going to be. Is Gable Stevenson ever going to be used? And then on the other hand of that, the recent storyline progression with Chad Gable. Your thoughts?
Love the. So I'll go backwards. I love the Chad Gable stuff. Big fan again since the day he started the Performance Center. He had it. He had it then. He's just keeps getting better. He's entertaining now. He's physical. He's strong. He's durable. It was such a great moment to see him put his son on his shoulders and run around the ring last week. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about. So hats off to Gable. I think they can get a good run out of this with him and Gunther. I think they can get a good, and this would be good for Gunther too. So I think that's really good.
Be a cool Mania thing, you know.
Yeah.
If it can stretch out that long, I don't know if it can, honestly.
I think between all the players, it may be able to stretch out. The sad thing now, I think, for me, is of the three now of Gable's stable, poor Otis is on the outside of this thing. Because Gable's stepping up into the, main event pictures, and the young lady's really stepping up and doing well, and Otis is kind of, now he's the background player, but that's a different discussion, not taking anything from Otis, but as far as Gable Stevenson, I mean, he's training for the Worlds, right? That's where he's going. So
overcoming the odds,
gonna try to be repeat gold medalists and everything, and man, I'm red, white, and blue every inch of me, and I hope he does well. I just don't know what the WWE is going to do to him, because now it'd be like starting over when he comes back again, because he's in Greco-Roman mode. He's in this mode. He's not into,
I can't speak, and you can't either, to his progression. I really can't speak to his progression. It could be great. It could be subpar. I mean, I really don't know. It's just, really highlighted him coming in, and maybe we're just unrealistic with our expectations of people. Maybe they're doing it right by maybe they're really making sure all the ducks in a row. Not everybody's going to be like Kurt Angle when they come in.
Right. Well, but the other side of it is too, because he made the announcement of, going to compete in the Worlds and stuff, why would you put an exorbitant amount of TV time and stuff into him when he's going to be gone? So I think business-wise, behind the scenes, it's probably going the way they want it to. And for us as fans, he came in, we were expecting, more, right? We were expecting him to come in, but things happen in life and other things. And so, the WWE's got to be able to say, one of our guys became an Olympian again, if everything goes well. But I think the timing, I'm glad they didn't fast track him on NXT and all that stuff just to take him away. So that's the upside to it. I think he has something to offer, but to your point, we haven't seen it, so I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I can't speak to it. I mean, I can't even comment on it hardly. So you think it's good business, though, with him doing that Olympic thing and just being a figurehead for the company? Well,
I think it's the same as when you let some of the women go and compete in bodybuilding and come back and, do those things. I think any of that stuff is always good ambassadorship for the.
They let Lesnar did the UFC fight 6-7 years ago or something. Maybe
Lesnar. Dana Brooke took time off to compete and get ready for a bodybuilding thing, and Becky went and did the movie. Becky went and did Rock's show, and so I think all that stuff forms into entertainment, and this one just happens to be with the Olympics.
Taking a little bit of a segue here. So, Bill, like I talked about, some of the stuff that I've been doing online is I started On This Day in Pro Wrestling History.
I like it, by the way.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's blowing up on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. However, it's not on Twitter, which is fine. But just let's talk about some of the things that happened this week, if you don't mind, for this week in history, just to kind of go down memory lane here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull it up here. We'll take a look at it. So let's see if I can get back. We talked about... So, Monday, 8/14, was the 12-year anniversary of this strange storyline with CM Punk and John Cena trying to become the undisputed champion. Kevin Nash gets involved, says he got a text saying to stick it to the winner. Alberto Del Rio cashes in and becomes the champion. Do you remember this moment? Kevin Nash randomly pops up and he takes out CM Punk. Awkward moment there. I remember back still to this day, I don't understand that storyline at all. It was good to see Kevin Nash. They even got a match, a blow-up match with him and Punk at a pay-per-view. But it's still a storyline that when I posted that a lot of the reaction was, what the hell was even going on with that?
Yeah, and to Big Kev's credit, he'll come in and try to make sense of it. But if you're going to bring me in for that, okay, brother, I'm coming in. It was good for Kevin, but it was one of those, that was a head scratcher, right? And all the things that were going on, that was a head scratcher. Maybe
I don't think they ever fully addressed that.
Yeah.
They never fully addressed that storyline, I don't think. He got a text, Triple H said, no, you didn't. I didn't text you. It just kind of never played out. So that's kind of a funny moment there. It didn't make much sense. But it was awesome hearing Booker T saying, what the hell? That's my big homie. As he laid CM Punk out. Okay, going on to Tuesday was 8:15. Randy Orton beats Chris Benoit at 2004 at SummerSlam to become the youngest world champion in history at the age of 24.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, you go back to this is me really in high school here, so I remember a lot of these
thanks a lot.
moments vividly. Randy Orton, man, him getting that title was big then.
He was, talk about the chosen one. Randy, but to me, it was all on Randy. He took it. He was a sponge. He paid attention. He was listening to the right people. I'll say this, he was listening to everybody, but he really took to heart what the right people were telling him and directing him to. But come on, Orton stands alone, man. Orton's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
The next day, which was 8/16, iconic moment here on Monday Night Raw. Celebration of Randy Orton winning the title. He's on Dave Batista's shoulder. Evolution's all hugging him. Batista, gets him on his shoulder. And the famous Triple H thumbs down happens. I remember watching that live and going back and listening to that crowd pop was insane. And as Orton is being pummeled being held and by the others being beaten by Triple H, the screaming of terror in the crowd was insane. Iconic moment, Bill.
Yeah.
One of the most iconic faction-changing moments.
And Randy was made. Randy was made the night before. Randy was made. He's the guy, and here's the celebration. So, like any good gang, you get beat in and you get beat out. So the steam was kept on the heels. The passion was there, and the love was there for Randy, and he's off and running.
This was particularly good business because the amount of storyline and matches they were able to get out of this.
Yes.
For what seemed like years.
But
it's very rare that when wrestling hits such a home run and you have something that works out and can just continue on to so many different directions for so long and go so well.
Yeah.
So this was a big moment for that too.
But they, that goes back to, and I'll say only because I can't say I'm 100% sure, but that was a Triple H brainchild. And I think there's been documentary things about, Batista and Randy coming in, and this is what we want to do with them. But they knew what they had in those two guys, and they came up with this brilliant foundation for it, and it worked out very well.
Absolutely. And one of the best ever. So hopefully we see him again.
Yeah.
I will say that again. Okay, so moving on to 8/17, which was today as of this recording. Suplex City was founded at SummerSlam 2014. Brock Lesnar absolutely dominated John Cena. I think he has 16 German suplexes, multiple F5s, and a 15-minute stunner match. A match that stunned everybody as he completely wiped out John Cena and became the face of the company basically there for those couple of years.
Yeah, and how interesting and funny is it that every time we talk about Brock Lesnar, he has shut the wrestling industry down. He dominated Cena. Then let's go to what he did with Taker at WrestleMania. I mean, let's keep going down the line. Brock can shut it down. And
he just dominated. And the thing about it is, literally, he's just kneeing him.
Yes.
He is throwing okay, so when an opponent gets down in UFC onto the ground, they're not just like full out, like they're almost the way they're wailing down on them. So they're actually going to make contact, right?
Yep.
They're not just throwing straight fists. They're wailing down on them. You see him at several points just wailing down on John Cena.
Hammer fisting the crap out, like,
yeah.
And
that I watched the whole match. Obviously, I edited it into a video for those to check out. But the match itself is so amazing to me because it's 15 minutes. He beats the shit out of him. He has the ref check on him. Are you going to quit? Are you going to quit? Gives Cena the opportunity to quit. Then just beats him up some more. It's such a telling story. I think at one point, John tried to get up. He stepped on his hand. And he couldn't get up.
At that point, you just take
great storytelling there. But John Cena, credit to him, man.
Hey.
Just his selling in this particular match, because John Cena is not some small guy. That's
right.
For him to go out there and make Lesnar dominant, but to get into it like that and really put Lesnar over, and Lesnar became a huge part with that title. This is not, I don't want to say Cena slowed down, but he kind of did here as far as full out needing to be the champion all the time and all that.
Right.
He really passed the torch to Lesnar to carry it for a while, and kudos to them. That was a great moment.
I think you said it. Hats off to John, because he knew in order for that to be believable and, to spend belief a little bit, he had to ease it. And I'd probably see John looking right at guy, and you're going to have to take it to me for a little bit. And boy, did he ever take a beating. But hats off to him, because it was well done.
Credit to the kid that was screaming the whole time, let's go, Cena. There's some kid near the camera or something. Even as Cena's, beat down to an absolute nothing, the kid is still yelling. I think that's the best. That's the most amazing part about John Cena, man.
I love you, John.
Okay, so the next couple things here for tomorrow, the 18th. So Clash of Champions. We see the debut of Shockmaster in a backstage segment.
Oh, boy. Yep. I like him.
Sid Vicious still trying to sell it as a credible thing to you the whole time. That mask falls off as he falls through that wall. Mask covered in First of all, I have a bunch of daughters, so I have a personal hatred for glitter. It's everywhere. I don't know about you, Bill, growing up, or the kids growing up, but glitter everywhere in my house. And to see that mask, the amount of glitter on that mask, even I looked at the floor when it hit it, it was just everything was coated in that glitter.
He was a flamboyant stormtrooper, and in one of Dallas Page's mink coats with the sleeves cut off. It was just
yeah.
It was just but to your point, like everybody tried to not either fall. I think it was a Davey Boy. Somebody just had the biggest
Davey
smile.
Boy Sting. Yeah, they were all just.
What the heck is going on?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, was it Sting or Davey Boy that segued to a Shockmaster, and then it came. From what I hear, he's a great guy. The guy that
Fred Ottman, Tugboat. What an amazing guy! Super, super good guy. And his son now is in part of the production crew at WWE.
Cool.
Yeah, started out as a runner, and then he became the bell ringer, and he's just moving up the ladder. Good people, man.
So on the 18th this is really a pivotal moment for modern era of wrestling on 2013. So what happened here is we're really building up Daniel Bryan. This is a SummerSlam. John Cena, I think his elbow was the size of a softball. Man. Obviously had to have some time away. And who better to continue off this momentum of what Daniel Bryan had been building? He came off of the storyline with Kane, which is red hot. Went on a singles run that's really unprecedented, honestly, in probably the history of wrestling. So on this night, he defeats John Cena. Clean win over John Cena. So Triple H was a special guest referee. I'm sure you remember that. He planted him with the pedigree, and then Randy Orton comes out and cashes in. A crazy, iconic moment in the modern era of wrestling.
Yeah, but you instantly bring me back to what it all led up to, right? What the storytelling that happened.
And what happens after this?
Yeah, from that instance on, what happens that follows it is brilliant. It was just brilliant, and you're right. This is when you see Daniel
Bloodline
Bryan.
aside, has there been a better storyline?
That Daniel Bryan? No. I'm gonna hesitantly say no. I can't think of one off the top of my head though. Really, really well done.
The amount of time and money they made off of it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it seemed a little bit authentic as well.
I think at a certain point when you get deep into it, and I guess you could use Edge because we were talking about him earlier, like when when personal life gets interrupted with business life, but they give you, after a while, they give you that window to make it authentic. Here's a bullet point, but you run with what you're feeling, and everybody is so invested. They play off it so well that you're right. It comes off genuine and how it should be.
Yeah. The 19th here, so there's a couple things happen on this day. Ronda Rousey won her first and only Raw Women's title from Alexa Bliss. And also in the main event, we finally saw Roman Reigns overcome and defeat Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship.
Wow.
A whole different Roman Reigns, Bill.
Whole different.
But his breakthrough, real big breakthrough moment against Lesnar. Again, Lesnar's putting somebody else or building somebody else up in a terrific manner.
Yeah.
And Ronda Rousey breaking in and getting that title.
Yeah. Two big moments. I think one continues and one, to be honest, lasted longer than I thought. So
Alexa Bliss has put a lot of people over.
She's
when you start thinking about it, the last 6 years, she's had her hands on a lot of things.
She's won it, but she was a player. And
that's what I'm saying. She was a big part of people winning. I mean,
she was such a player and continued to be that way. Even when she wasn't, like, everybody hated the doll when, the kind of Bray Wyatt stuff, and Bray left and she kept going with the doll. She made everything work, and she was a main player. I think that's a big hole in the, in the division. So I'm a big fan.
8:20, my favorite moment to bring up here, and I can't wait to share this with the world. Hopefully WWE doesn't try to copyright block me, which is their content, but I credit them with it. August 20th, this goes back to 2001, Monday Night Raw hosted an Austin Appreciation Night. The Alliance paid tribute to the leader Stone Cold Steve Austin with music and cookies and a party theme. The party was ruined when Kurt Angle drove a milk truck to the ringside and doused the entire group in dairy. Another iconic moment, Bill. This was watching this live back then. Crazy to think it's 22 years ago. Man, this night, do you remember the singing? I believe they sung Wind Beneath My Wing.
We were all part of that. We were in the ring. And it was that time was the funniest. Like, I'm always going to be a fan. But when I see Austin cutting it up in a promo and we're shooting live or something, him and Kurt with all the stuff they did, but the
why were people so hard on Austin's time as a heel?
I don't know.
I thought it was good stuff.
I don't know. But I hated that milk truck part. I hated it. Kurt had a ton of fun, but I hated it. You stunk.
What a fun moment, though. It's not very often you get to do something that extreme.
Well, I think it was what a great counter to beer, right? Milk.
He didn't crash the truck into the ring, though, like Austin did.
So, but you're right. It's another one of those moments that really proved by that time, not that they had to prove it anymore, but they proved why they're the leaders in this industry. But because they had the players, Kurt Angle's homegrown. He was groomed.
Yeah.
Here's another guy who was groomed the right way. We can spend weeks and months and years on this podcast talking about behind the scenes this, and this one was not happy this, and this was not a terrible story this. The end of the line is look at what they did, how they started, and who they became. we're all going to have ups and downs in our careers and things like that. But the guys that trust the process and stay the course are the most successful guys in this industry.
One of my favorite moments there was the cookies. We made his wife Deborah made his favorite cookies, and he wouldn't even eat them on air.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's the little things about that storyline time back then was so big. Something as silly as making the cookies that were too stale to eat. They made the best of every moment.
But those were ad libs.
I'm sure.
We literally sat because you're going to shoot something live, they try to get the staging right where all these bodies, because at the time there was always like 10 of us from the Alliance in the office or something like that. And so they do a walkthrough and somebody'd walk in backwards, someone would walk in with their clothes on upside down, or everybody was just cutting up, and there was no lines. It wasn't, hey, react like this. It's what at the moment you do what's happening. And when you got a guy like Austin who can ad lib, and you're screwed if you can't keep a straight face. The not so Uzi line would have went over huge if Austin would have said it.
Him yelling at you that one time was
great.
Pretty epic too. You just had to sit there and take it.
It great. And they never told us what was going to happen.
So you never knew. Yeah. Well, he didn't even know what happened, I'm sure.
And
so real quick thing about that night. What was the talent? So what was it like before and after this event? Because everybody just this was crazy with the milk and everything.
It was fun. Everybody was, look at me. Gee, I took it better than you. I drank more milk than you. It was a good, and again, this is my opinion of how I lived it. It was just a good group of the boys, just have a little fun with it. And, because you can hear, this one didn't get any TV time and now I'm going to get hit with milk. No, there wasn't. And if there was that, I wasn't part of it or privy to it. It was just, those moments were really funny things. Those kind of things really brought the guys together, I think.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty neat moment just for everybody to be a part of it, and let alone it was just killing it. We will talk about the invasion one day. I'm just in no hurry. I think it's kind of over talked about, to be honest. But those are some of the moments that will last forever that come out of that.
Yeah,
there are several. It's a huge missed opportunity, but that moment is not one that's a huge missed opportunity.
No, it was
what it was about. I just think, again, it came down to relying on WWF guys to be the face of the Alliance.
Yeah.
But this segment, it played off big. So
it was killer. Yeah, killer segment.
I've only got one more question here. It's ending on a, I don't want to say positive or negative. It's a question that I know the answer to it. I'd be surprised if the answer was no. But the question is, do you think Charlotte Flair will get the 17th title reign and go over Ric Flair's 16? I think she's going to be around a while. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets another title win.
I'm going to say no. I think I agree with you. She's going to be around a long time. But I just feel like I don't want to say know how Charlotte thinks. She could tie it, right? She tied it now.
Talk to us about Charlotte.
Well, first of all, we've watched her grow up in front of our eyes. There's not a better, we hear a lot about Bianca Belair and her athleticism, and she's amazing. Shayna with her fighting, amazing. Ronda, amazing. All these backgrounds that everybody, even the men and all these things. Charlotte Flair is a pure athlete. Charlotte Flair is the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. She's you could put her in anything. There's nothing she can't do. There's nothing she can't perfect. She wears her heart on her sleeves and her emotions, and she's not afraid to get physical. She's not afraid to think out of the box. All you have, and here's the biggest thing for me, she's been coachable since day one. And in life, too. I think people forget that. When you spend so much time with people, you deal with them on a personal level. Anyway, going back to Charlotte, she's amazing. I feel like I would think there's a part of me thinks Charlotte goes, that's my dad's. I'm not touching it. So are they even now? Or is she
I think it's her going over. It's tied.
It's tied. So I would be really. I'm just gonna play. It goes back to that sauce gravy conversation because
it's not tied.
Gravy, I'm gonna say
I was wrong. It's not tied. She's still a few away.
Oh, she's still a few away. I think she gets to the tie, and just lets her dad know. I could have done it.
John Cena's tied him, correct? Yeah. That's right, because Jon Stewart screwed him over, and his whole reason was, I didn't want you to beat another weird storyline. But anyway, sorry. She doesn't need another title, though, but certainly, I mean, I think she will. I think she'll get a couple more out of it because you can go to her at any point in time.
Yeah. I'd give her all the way to even. And then
so we got 2 more till even.
I'd let Charlotte hold it over Ric Flair forever. I could have done it.
So Ric Flair, we've talked about it. One of his sons, the other one passed away.
Yeah.
All those kids obviously come at different times in his career, wrestling career also. Anything you remember about them when they were younger?
Yeah,
You talked about David, how David didn't necessarily know much about what was going on. Not a knock, but
David. So I learned more about David when he joined the company because you didn't see David around a lot. You know, matter of fact, I'm going to say I never saw him at all. Because, you know, like you said, just different relationships that Rick had and whatever. But I didn't see David until he started, get to know David. But I watched Reed. You know, Reed was with Rick all the time as a youngster and got to know Reed.
Yeah, Reed was really into wrestling.
He was a state champion. He was I forget.
Had a good thing going in his early stages of his career.
Yes, and it was in Japan doing well and things like that. So the athletics run there for whatever reason. They're all athletic. It's crazy.
It's pretty cool that you think about it. Well, even my kids come to work with me and they think it's the coolest thing ever. I might not, but I can't imagine.
Special, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine being at some of the, like you see these iconic moments with the McMahon kids or others with, Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
It has to be a really cool thing to be able to bring your kids. Did you do that a whole lot, Bill? Or
yeah, but the girls, both of my girls were, whenever I could have them with me, because we were gone so much, I'd bring them on the road if it was a good drive and stuff like that. But they have pictures with all the guys and girls and Dustin Rhodes used to come up in the gold dust stuff from behind him and scare them. And Billy Gunn's boys and my girls are the same ages. And they were in the ring together, okay. 4 of them running around as 4 little goons, not even heads over the second rope. They were so small. So
that's cool.
We get to see a lot of them grow up together and then see what they become and the kind of people they become. It's really cool. And that's why I said Chad Gable having his son, like his son will see that sometime and go, oh, I get it. Or that's cool. Because like Billy's kind of like that. He has an idea, but he didn't live it. So
even Goldberg's son.
Yeah.
Seeing him back in the day.
Come on, man. Chad's got that the rest of his life now. That's one of the greatest memories he'll ever have. So I thought, hey, good, all good kids, everybody. And I had the honor of meeting Conrad's wife at the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And there's another daughter, right? So interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Charlotte ties it. And Charlotte, the heel, kind of that grin, that look goes, I have you, Pop. If I want you, I got you. That kind of deal.
Bill, you have anything else you want to add to this episode? Anything you want to discuss? I went through all the questions that I thought about, at least.
I really like when we kind of get back to the people and get back to the questions and things like that. And to me, it still sparks great conversation because you know me, if you tell me something, all of a sudden I see the butterfly and I go, oh yeah, and another thing happened. So I like catching up with everybody and things like that. Good. Fix his mustache.
Yeah, he's always a memorable one. Comes out.
And the other, my two favorites are Bob Orton's cast and Vince's mustache.
It's mustache. Yeah, Vince's mustache always hits the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
On us.
Oh, look, thanks for that, Vince.
Yeah, he's the one that gets me in trouble with the AEW fans.
Listen,
blame him.
Next time we get together, we talk AEW, I'm going to get you in a lot of trouble with
that. That's all right. What's it going to do? Ruin my Reddit karma score anymore? It's already trash because of them.
5% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, exactly.
I just learned what that
Bill,
was.
man.
I just learned what that was.
Another fun episode. It was nice to get back to the fans, like you said. I don't know what brings us next down this experience, but I'm excited. I got to figure out what's coming up next.
Oh, well, yeah, good episode. Thank you for everybody who's subscribing to YouTube now. Send Jeff a big thumbs up. Follow us on social media and keep getting involved. This is great.
Yep, he's at Bill DeMott everywhere. I'm at Podcast Father everywhere. We have BillDeMott.com. You can contact us on there if you don't want to do so on social media. We also have an email, BillDeMottPod@gmail.com. Check out my On This Day in Pro Wrestling History stuff on social media. I'm building that up. I think it's fun, and it only takes a few minutes for me to do every day, and I feel like it's a cool thing to share for others because I think that's what wrestling's all about, man. Nostalgia. And even the Bill DeMott Experience, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, moments.
These are moments that we will never forget. You and I sitting here tearing up, laughing.
Oh.
I had you laughing on the McRiddle.
You did have. I'm gonna hashtag that now. Every time I tag you, I'm gonna McRiddle you.
McRiddle me. Oh boy,
I have one. I have one for you. For the fans, everybody's listening, I'd like to know who they'd like to see as a guest on the Bill DeMott Experience.
Okay, yeah. Let us know who you think is a guest.
Other than Hulk Hogan or The Rock, who would you rather see, or who would you like?
Tell me you can't pull strings like that, brother.
Oh man, look at my phone call right now.
Call Terry up. Oh, I did see one this week, and I'll end it with this. People asked about the Misfits and asking about Chavo and stuff.
Yeah. So Chavo, we just connected on
battle
Instagram.
There. Really?
Yeah, after a bunch of years because he's been super busy. He's a Hollywood producer and all that stuff now. And I've been doing my thing, but we just connected. So I'm hoping to talk to Chavo soon. But boy, we could do 5 episodes on him.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Very true. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up, Bill. So yeah, until next time. Check out all the back catalog of episodes at BillDeMott.com. And I have a bunch of other stuff at Jeff Townsend Media. Until then, keep being you and keep being great.